My personal favourite highlight of the day was the number of references that Kenya got in the PM, our Prime Minister's opening speech. I don't think anyone could have missed how much us Brits absolutely love Kenyan tea. And I've been particularly pleased to be working very closely with the UK company Diageo, which has made an investment across all of its East African breweries to make them sustainable, of which £100 million will be spent in Kenya. Alongside Diageo's investment, we also highlighted two really important investments that the UK is making. Firstly, Tullow's £1.2 billion investment, and also Malindi Solar and GlobalX investment of £50 million. Yesterday also saw President Kenyatta open the London Stock Exchange, which was the first to celebrate the first offshore Kenyan shilling bond, which is Kenya's first green bond. And President Kenyatta's speech at the Sustainable Finance session really highlighted this as a key area of future UK partnership, which will be a key focus for us going forward. The summit demonstrated that the UK and Kenya already enjoy a strong trade and investment relationship. The UK is Kenya's largest cumulative foreign investor, with over 20 British companies already operating in Kenya. And 7 of Kenya's top largest corporate taxpayers are British. British investment is creating jobs, scaling up businesses, and supporting the Kenyan economy. But we feel very strongly as the UK that we can go further. Yesterday's event was designed to help create a step change in our relationships across Africa, and we are really committed to encouraging investment into Kenya to generate sustainable and inclusive growth. We're working with the Kenyan government and with the private sector to support enabling policies that break down market access barriers, to improve transparency and the business environment, and to encourage investment, innovation, and business growth. And we're particularly focused on helping Kenyan entrepreneurs to achieve their ambition. And Kenyan entrepreneurs have been highlighted in a number of events all of last week around women in business, young entrepreneurs, and were also involved very much yesterday in the summit, which was really exciting to see. But we think we can do more, and we've laid the foundation for a partnership, a greater, deeper partnership yesterday. We announced an MOU on mobilising private sector finance. We're doing a new regulatory cooperation agreement with the UK Financial Conduct Authority, which will be piloted in Kenya. And we launched an infrastructure partnership. Kenya will also benefit from a number of new trade programmes that we launched yesterday, including the Gateway for Growth, that will help international businesses to invest in Kenya, and the Trade Connect programme, which will support companies looking to export.
My heart is filled with pride today morning to be a young entrepreneur and to follow on the proverbs from Africa. The sun does not forget a small village just because of its size.
Great. So what do you think needs to change to really, what do you see as the main opportunities for change?
Intentionality. There's so much data you have as governments, but are we being intentional with what we do with this data? The opportunities are there. We are here. But what are we doing with this? We need to get granular. We need to stop the talk. We need to start the action. But more importantly, you need to make room for us at the table. We are young. We are energetic, we are innovative, we've got grit, and we've got a deep love for our continent. Make room for us at the table, my president. Make room for younger people, not to move you from the table, but to sit with you and join hands. And as our athlete Eliud Kipchoge showed us, you need 42 pace setters top of their game to help you win, for us to win the race of an amazing continent of great partnerships. We all need to want to work together.
We are all going to have to work in different ways, especially us in the developing countries, in order to be able to ensure that we are able to sustain our economic development in line with our respective country visions, Agenda 2030 for us in Africa, and also maintaining and ensuring that we achieve our SDGs. while at the same time maintaining growth in order to ensure we create the jobs that we need in a sustainable and an environmentally friendly way. So we all must start thinking out of the box. In fact, as we heard this morning, if it's in terms of energy, we need to be able to see how we're going to propel ourselves to ensure that we are producing more and more and depending more and more on green energy. As you said, today we were at the London Stock Exchange, where we launched Kenya's first green bond. We're also moving forward to see how we can also focus ourselves as a country on our first ever sovereign green bond, which again we want to put to use to develop additional capacity, especially in energy, in housing and sustainable housing. And these are some of the things that we are working on in Kenya, recognizing that in partnership with private sector and us as government, and a clear focus on the issue of sustainability, especially with regard to climate change, we want to be able to create that regulatory framework that allows business, the private sector, to be the engine of helping us achieve our developmental objectives, but again, in a manner that is sustainable and that is environmentally friendly. And in fact, one of the things that we have also done is to ensure that these green bonds, as we're calling them, we give incentives so that they're much more attractive than regular bonds in terms of we're not charging interest, for example, on the coupon. They're tax-free on the interest. And all of this really is just aimed at encouraging our private sector to move more into eco-friendly business. You all know that the United Kingdom is key to Kenya and has been a well-tested strategic partner over the years. You are our fifth largest export destination. But also equally, and I believe more importantly, you also form the largest pool of foreign investors in Kenya, with over about 220 British companies based and working in Kenya. Kenya has established a market niche in the United Kingdom also for some of our leading products, tea, as the Prime Minister mentioned yesterday, coffee, flowers, fruits, vegetables. And we, on the other hand, have never lost faith in UK manufactured goods, including motor vehicles, printed materials, machineries, and chemicals. But we're entering a new stage, and I think we all know that, in our partnership with the United Kingdom post-Brexit. I must admit some of us were not keen on a Brexit situation. But I must also say that now that it's happened, and indeed the manner in which the British government is aggressively pursuing new opportunities outside of Europe, I think this might end up being a blessing in disguise for all of us. And I think there is indeed huge potential.
A relationship that benefits us all and makes a lasting difference. And the same is true of the UK government's £53 million investment at the port of Mombasa, a serious, commercially minded development like many other of our overseas investments in Africa. But rather than being arranged on extraordinarily one-sided terms and delivered by a vast imported workforce, without wishing to cast aspersions on any other potential partner, it was a sustainable deal that created jobs for ordinary Kenyans now and in the future. And it was made all the easier for British businesses to work with and trade with their Kenyan counterparts and vice versa. I'm told that probably partly as a result of what's going on in Mombasa, half of all the tea drunk in the UK comes to us from Kenya. Think of that. Britain without a nice cup of tea is barely worth thinking about, and that means Britain without Kenya is barely worth thinking about. Literally sustained, kept sane and rational throughout the day by infusions of Kenyan supplied tea. Even if it doesn't originate in Kenya, it comes through Kenya, if you see what I mean. Got to be careful about that. And it's the sustainable, forward-thinking nature of that investment in Mombasa that marks us out, I would say, as different from the global crowd. And that kind of sustainable thinking applies to our shared environment every bit as much as it does to our common business interests. We regularly generate more of our electricity from renewables than from fossil fuels, regularly. And we have almost entirely weaned ourselves off coal. But there's no point in the UK reducing the amount of coal we burn if we then trundle over to Africa and line our pockets by encouraging African states to use more of it. Is there? We all breathe the same air, we live beneath the same sky, we all suffer when carbon emissions rise and the planet warms. So from today, the British government will no longer provide any new direct official development assistance, investment, export credit or trade promotion for thermal coal mining or coal power plants overseas. To put it simply, not another penny of UK taxpayers' money will be directly invested in digging up coal or burning it for electricity. And instead, we're going to focus on supporting the transition to lower and zero carbon alternatives.